seems like it's something that shouldn't exist. And in fact, if this animal were terrestrial, it wouldn't be able to exist.
Oh my God!
Some of the strangest animals on the planet were never meant to be seen.
Lewat sekitar 30 meter.
They lived too deep, moved too fast, or hid in places no person could reach. Yet for a few seconds, they appeared on camera and rewrote what scientists thought was possible. From a literal modern dinosaur to a squid with the longest, thinnest arms you've ever seen, to a deep hunter with a jaw that fires like a trap. These are the strangest encounters ever caught on camera. Number 13. Long-armed shadow in the deep.
Classified to their current classification in the late 1980s, there have only been about a dozen sightings of these elusive squids.
For a long time, big-fin squids were like ghost stories in deep-sea science. Researchers had strange bits of arms from the stomachs of other animals and a few damaged bodies from deep trawl nets, but almost no one had seen a full one alive. That changed in the late 1980s, when a French research submarine in the Atlantic filmed a squid with a small body and arms that fell straight down like long wires. Since then, there have been fewer than 20 confirmed sightings worldwide, which makes every new video a big deal.
The remarkable footage captured by underwater cameras provides an unprecedented look and behavior of this cephalopod species.
A big-fin squid does not look like the giant squids most people know from movies. The main body is only a few feet long and has large fins on the sides, but the arms and tentacles are extremely thin and can stretch many times longer than the body.
Big fin squids get their common name because they have, well, big fins.
At the tips of those arms are extra fine threads like fishing lines that hang straight down into the dark. In some videos, the total length from top to bottom has been estimated at over 20 feet. These squids live far deeper than most sea life. One seen by a United States ocean team was cruising at about 1.5 miles down, and the deepest confirmed big-fin squid was close to 3 miles below the surface. Most of the footage we have comes from ROVs. In one Gulf of Mexico dive, scientists were actually searching for a shipwreck when a big-fin squid glided into view, arms held out in an L shape with the long threads trailing downward. Scientists think the squid holds its arms still and lets those threads hang like lines, waiting for small animals to bump into them so it can reel them in.
To the big fin squid is that it has been observed coiling these filaments up or even to transport food. The reason is unknown.
Number 12. A monster finally in HD.
Chimeras are large-eyed cartilaginous fish that primarily inhabit the deep ocean.
If you wanted proof that the deep sea still hides strange animals, the ghost shark footage is it. A research team sent a robot sub down near an undersea mountain off California. At roughly 1 mile deep, a gray fish with a long pointed snout and big side fins drifted straight into the camera's lights. It did not panic. It cruised past, turned and came back for another look, its pale eyes glowing. Only later, when the clip was reviewed on shore, did experts realize this was the first clear footage of a pointy-nosed blue chimera, a type of ghost shark, in its natural home.
There is a revenant that haunts the deep sea, an elusive creature, one that has existed on this planet for millions of years.
Ghost sharks are close cousins of sharks and rays, but their skeleton is all cartilage. The same bendy material in your nose, not hard bone. This species had been described from dead animals caught near Australia and New Zealand, so seeing it alive in the North Pacific was a shock. The robot filmed it at a depth of about 1,600 meters, on cold rock slopes where the water temperature was only a few degrees above freezing. Later checks showed similar ghost sharks turning up on cameras near Hawaii as well, meaning this animal quietly roams huge areas of the deep ocean. The ghost shark moves in a slow, steady glide, flapping its wide side fins like wings. It does not have sharp, tearing teeth. Instead, it has hard, grinding plates that it uses to crush crabs, clams, and other tough prey on the sea floor. Thin lines on its skin mark a sense system that lets it feel tiny movements in the water, and small spots called light organs can glow to help it signal or blend into the dark around it. A stiff spine in front of its top fin can deliver a painful jab to anything that grabs it.
Some chimeras have a special venom gland near their dorsal fins. They are very unlikely to use it.
Number 11. The lion-killing apes of the Congo. In the far north of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, hunters told outsiders a wild story. They said there were huge apes in the Bili forest that walked on the ground like gorillas, nested on the forest floor, and were strong enough to kill lions. One pilot even reported seeing a dark shape running under his plane that he first mistook for a buffalo until he flew lower and realized it was an ape. For years, people argued over what these lion killers really were. When researchers finally pushed deep into the region in the late 1990s and early 2000s, they put out camera traps and began to collect hard evidence. The photos and videos that came back showed big, rugged chimpanzees moving through a mix of forest and open woodland. Sometimes walking upright for a few steps, sometimes nesting on the ground in beds of bent branches more like gorillas. Some images show adult males that look massive, with broad shoulders and pale faces, matching the stories local people had told. Skulls, dung, and hair from nests were sent off for testing.
This is a silverback's nest.
If you look carefully, you can find silver hair.
Oh.
DNA work showed that these apes are not a brand new kind of great ape or a gorilla-chimp mix. They are a wild population of eastern chimpanzees, the same species seen elsewhere in Central Africa, but living in a huge, fairly untouched area and showing their own mix of habits. Field studies led by Thurston Cleveland Hicks and others showed that they eat a lot of fruit, especially figs, crack open snails and hard fruits on rocks, and use very long sticks to pull out ants and termites. Ground nests, large footprints, and their willingness to sometimes approach humans instead of fleeing make them feel different from most other chimp groups. Number 10. A real-life sea serpent.
It's a prehistoric shark which has been discovered alive in the ocean off the coast of Japan.
In one famous clip from Japan, a sick female frilled shark was found near the surface, moved into a tank, and filmed as she swam with a long, eel-like body and a wide mouth full of thin, curved teeth before she died.
We found remains of these frilled sharks in the Earth's layer that are 80 million years old, so this truly is a living fossil.
In newer footage from deep-sea cameras, the shark hangs in the dark with its mouth slightly open, rows of white teeth glowing against the black water. It looks less like a normal shark and more like a snake with fins. Most frilled sharks spend their lives in deep water, usually between a few hundred and about 4,000 feet down along the outer edges of continents and sea mountains in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Their bodies are long and flexible, with 6 pairs of gill slits that form a frill around the throat, which is where the name comes from. A full-grown female can reach about 6 feet in length. Inside that big head sit around 300 needle-like teeth set in about 25 rows. Each tooth has 3 points and bends backward, perfect for catching soft animals like squid and smaller sharks.
So that it can take in a really big piece of prey and then slowly digest it down its track.
When it hunts, the frilled shark can curl its tail against a rock and lunge like an eel, grabbing prey and swallowing it whole. The way it reproduces is just as strange. Frilled sharks carry their young inside the body without a real placenta, and the babies grow by feeding only on the yolk from their egg. Studies suggest that pregnancy can last up to about 3.5 years, which may be the longest of any animal with a backbone. A mother gives birth to as few as 2 pups or as many as 15, and each one is already close to 1.5 feet long. That slow and careful life cycle is a big reason this shark is so rarely seen.
She's perhaps not the most beautiful species in the world, but she is indeed a truly wonderful sight to behold.
Number 9. The extinct dinosaur fish on film. Imagine thinking a whole group of animals vanished with the dinosaurs, and then one shows up in a fish market. That is the story of the coelacanth. For decades, this strange, lobe-finned fish was known only from fossils in rock more than 60 million years old. Then, in 1938, a South African museum worker named Marjorie Courtenay Latimer spotted a huge blue fish in a trawler's catch that looked like nothing she had ever seen. A local fish expert later confirmed it was a living coelacanth, a fossil that had somehow survived into the present day. The coelacanth does not look or move like a normal fish. It can grow over 6 feet long and weigh as much as a grown man, with thick armor-like scales and fins that stick out on fleshy stalks, almost like little legs. Those strange fins are important because they look a lot like the limb bones seen in early animals that first crawled onto land.
Coelacanths are part of the Sarcopterygiae, or lobe-fin fishes, and one of the groups that gave rise to tetrapods.
It gives a real-life glimpse of what ancient fish bodies were like. Modern dives and underwater cameras finally showed where this animal hides. Coelacanths live in the twilight zone of the ocean, usually between about 500 and 800 feet down, resting in underwater caves on steep rocky slopes during the day. At night, they drift slowly out to hunt, sometimes sharing caves with more than 10 other coelacanths. They grow slowly, can live close to 100 years, and may stay pregnant for around 5 years, which makes them very hard to replace if too many are caught. On film, they do not rush or dart. They simply hover and gently sweep their fins, like an old survivor that has learned to waste as little energy as possible. Number 8. The real Asian unicorn. Deep in the mountains between Vietnam and Laos, a simple village photograph helped reveal one of the rarest animals on Earth. In the early 1990s, scientists visiting a remote reserve noticed a set of long, straight horns hanging in a hunter's home. They did not match any known cow, goat, or deer. Further checks and more skulls showed that these horns belonged to a totally new large mammal, now called the saola. Because it is so rarely seen, people soon started calling it the Asian unicorn. For years after that, saola were almost like ghosts. Local people knew them and sometimes caught them in snares, but trained scientists almost never saw one alive. The animal itself looks simple at first glance. A forest antelope-sized body, a dark brown coat, white patches on the face, and 2 smooth horns that rise straight back from the head like twin spears. Both males and females have these horns, and they can grow to more than 1.5 feet long.
Up to 50 centimeters. On this image here, it's a baby one, so they're parallel horns, and they're both present in females and males.
Saola live only in wet, steep forests along the Annamite Range, a line of mountains that runs along the border of Laos and Vietnam. The big turning point came when camera traps were set along muddy animal paths in those mountains. In the mid-1990s, one camera in Laos caught a female saola stepping into frame, looking straight at the lens for a moment before walking off. Almost 2 decades later, in 2013, a set of cameras in Vietnam finally filmed another wild saola after about 15 years, with no confirmed record in that country. Based on village reports and a few field signs, experts think there may only be a few dozen, or at most a few hundred saola left. Number 7. The bizarre filter feeder from nowhere. When the first megamouth shark was pulled up off Hawaii in 1976, the crew thought they had caught a sea monster. It had a huge, soft body, a round snout, and a mouth so wide you could fit a grown person across it. No one on the ship had seen anything like it, and when scientists looked closer, they realized why. This was not just a new species, but a shark so odd it needed its own new family line. Before that day, nobody even knew it existed. Since then, the megamouth has stayed one of the rarest big sharks on Earth. Fewer than 300 have ever been seen or caught worldwide. Most turn up by accident in deep nets or tangled on anchors, already weak or dying, which is why good video of a healthy megamouth is so hard to get.
And considering they spend most of their time in the deep sea where light is pretty much non-existent.
When researchers do get footage, the shark looks almost lazy. It cruises slowly through deep water with its mouth open like a big net, letting clouds of tiny animals drift in. Some reach more than 15 feet long and over a ton in weight. Despite the scary name and size, this shark eats some of the smallest things in the sea. Its stomach is full of krill, shrimp-like creatures, jellyfish, and other plankton. The inside of its upper lip is bright white and very shiny, so when it opens its huge mouth in the dim twilight zone, that white patch stands out against the dark water and may help draw glowing plankton in. Studies now show the shark does not make its own light. It simply reflects whatever faint light is around. Number 6. The cartoon-looking deep-sea ghost. On one dive in the Pacific, a robot sub was gliding over a dark seafloor when a small round shape drifted into the lights about 1 mile down. It had big eyes and 2 flapping fins on its head that looked exactly like ears. Instead of racing away, it hovered above the camera, slowly turning, its ears waving as it checked out the strange machine before fading back into the dark. That simple moment is rare because dumbo octopus live far below normal diving depth. Most are seen between about 1 and 2.5 miles under the surface, where the water is near freezing and sunlight never reaches. In the Indian Ocean, explorers even filmed a dumbo octopus more than 4 miles down, in what scientists call the Hadal Zone, the deepest trench region on Earth. Up close, the body is built for that kind of pressure. The dumbo octopus has a soft, jelly-like body.
This is almost like a pose picture. We have a jellyfish, dumbo, a flatfish, and a shark, all like in the screen at the same time.
8 short arms joined by a thin web, and those ear fins it uses to move through the water instead of jetting around. It has no ink sac because blowing ink in total darkness would be useless. Rather than chase fast fish, it hovers close to the bottom and scoops up worms, tiny clams, snails, and small crabs, swallowing them whole. Many dumbo octopuses lay single, large eggs that they glue to rocks or sponges on the seafloor. In one study, a deep egg was brought to the surface, and a baby dumbo octopus hatched in the lab already fully formed. Number 5. The magic rabbit of the Tian Shan. The first clear photos of the ILI pika look almost fake. A tiny round animal peeking over a rock with big black eyes, short ears, and a teddy bear face. Those pictures were taken by a Chinese conservationist named Li Weidong in the Tian Shan Mountains.
Senior conservationist in China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, who shared his changing concept on wildlife protection.
When he finally found the animal again after more than 20 years of searching. Before that, nobody had seen a live ILI pika since the early 1990s, and some people quietly wondered if it had died out. The ILI pika is a kind of pika, a small relative of rabbits that usually lives in cold, rocky places. This species lives only in one small part of northwest China. It hides in piles of broken rock high on the sides of mountains, often between about 9,000 and over 13,000 feet above sea level. Early work found it at lower heights, but newer surveys show it has moved higher, likely because rising temperatures and more grazing by sheep and goats have changed the lower slopes. An adult ILI pika is only around 8 inches long and weighs less than a soda can. Its fur is thick and colored in rusty red and gray patches that blend in with the rocks, except for that bright face. It feeds on grasses and small plants, and like other pikas, it dries mouthfuls of plants into hay piles near its den, so it has food for the long winter. Almost nothing is known about its family life, because it is so shy and the terrain is so hard to reach, but fieldwork suggests very low numbers. The global population may be fewer than 1,000 animals, and many of the places where it was first found now seem empty. Number 4. The Kraken finally shows up. For a long time, the giant squid lived only in scary sea stories. Sailors talked about a kraken that could wrap its arms around a ship, but on land, the only proof was the occasional dead body that washed up on lonely coasts. Scientists had pieces in jars, but never a living animal. Most of what they knew came from sperm whales. When those whales are hauled up, their heads are often covered in round scars where the squid's suckers latched on and refused to let go. Each sucker is a ring lined with hard, tooth-like edges that can bite into flesh while the squid drags its prey in. The main reason nobody ever saw one alive is that this animal lives far below where sunlight reaches, in cold black water hundreds of feet down. In 2012, a Japanese team finally decided to go to the squid instead of waiting for it to come up. Near the Ogasawara Islands south of Tokyo, they used a small, quiet research submarine and turned their bright lights down low. Outside, they hung a glowing fake jellyfish as bait. That light copied the quick flash that real jellyfish give off when something attacks them.
The giant squid, she reasoned, would be attracted by the light because it would mean food was nearby.
At about 2,000 feet down, a silver giant squid slid out of the darkness, grabbed the bait with its long feeding tentacles, and stayed close for more than 20 minutes while the cameras rolled.
And it comes out of the gloom straight at the camera.
Since then, other teams have filmed giant squids again, including one in the Gulf of Mexico in 2019. We now know this is not a one-off monster, but a fast hunter with eyes as wide as dinner plates and a body that can stretch more than 40 feet from tail to tentacle tip, stalking the deep ocean where almost nobody ever sees it. Number 3. The alien with a spring-loaded jaw. Seeing a goblin shark for the first time makes you think the video was edited. Its skin is pale pink, its snout sticks out like a long metal blade, and its teeth look like a row of nails. This is a deep-sea shark that spends its life far below normal divers, in water hundreds to thousands of feet down, so most people only ever see it when one is dragged up by accident in a fishing net. Scientists call it a living fossil because its family line goes back more than 120 million years to a time when dinosaurs were still walking on land. Most goblin sharks are about the size of a small car, roughly 10 to 13 feet long, but some rare ones have been measured at close to 18 feet. They have been found in all the major oceans, from the waters off Japan and Taiwan to the Gulf of Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, and Australia. Usually they stay in the dark, cold zone along steep slopes and deep canyons. But every now and then one shows up much shallower and shocks local fishermen, like the huge animals brought up off Florida and Taiwan, or the recent catch and release near the Canary Islands. What really makes this shark famous is its jaw. For a long time, nobody knew how it actually grabbed food. Then Japanese crews filmed live goblin sharks in the open ocean, and researchers slowed the footage down. They found that the shark's jaw can shoot forward like a slingshot, racing out from the face in a split second, and reaching almost a tenth of the body length. The jaw moves at roughly 10 feet every second, one of the fastest bites ever measured in any fish. The long snout is packed with tiny sensors that can feel weak electric signals from the muscles and hearts of nearby fish, squid, and crabs. In the deep dark, the shark can drift slowly, feel a hidden animal, and then fire its jaw straight out to snatch the prey before it even knows what happened. Number 2. The pig that came back from the dead. The first time a biologist saw a Chacoan peccary on film, it felt like watching a ghost walk out of the Ice Age. A field team in the dry forests of Paraguay set a camera near a dusty trail where local hunters said a strange pig sometimes passed. When they checked the footage, a stocky, bristled animal with a big head, long snout, and high shoulders trotted past. For a long time, scientists knew it only from fossil remains and assumed it had died out thousands of years ago. The Chacoan peccary, also called the tagua, lives in the Gran Chaco, a harsh region of thorn scrub and cactus spread across parts of Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. Up close, it stands about as high as a medium dog, with coarse gray-brown fur and a mane of longer hairs along the neck and back. It has 3 toes on each back foot and tough skin on its snout for pushing through spiny plants. Herds hunt through the brush for roots, cactus pads, and hard fruits, even tearing into prickly pear cactus that would shred most other animals. They live in small family groups and mark paths with scent glands on their backs. Today, only a few thousand are thought to survive, and much of their dry forest home is being cleared for cattle. Number 1. A hidden whale species on camera. Out on calm green water off Madagascar, researchers were filming ordinary small whales when something felt off. The bodies were slim, the dorsal fins were tiny and hooked, and the heads had a strange paint job. One jaw bright white on the right side, dark on the left. When they checked the footage and the DNA, they realized they had just filmed one of the world's rarest whales in the wild for the first time, Omura's whale. For decades, bits of strange whales caught during old whaling trips sat in freezers and museum stores. They were labeled as a pygmy form of Bride's whale, another small tropical species. Only in the early 2000s did whale scientists confirm that these odd bodies and skulls belonged to a completely different species. The Madagascar study changed everything.
One of the world's rarest whales was spotted off the coast of Madagascar. Over a month-long period, a team of scientists made 80 sightings of the elusive Omura's whale.
Over several years, a small team recorded dozens of sightings and hours of video of these whales cruising and feeding in shallow tropical water. The footage shows long, slim baleen whales about the length of a bus, roughly 26 to almost 40 feet from nose to tail, slicing just under the surface with that one-sided white jaw flashing in the sun. They use loose skin under the mouth to open wide and scoop up clouds of tiny fish and shrimp, then push the water out through their baleen plates and swallow the food that gets caught. Omura's whales seem to like warm seas near coasts and islands in the Indian and Western Pacific Oceans, from Madagascar to places like Indonesia, Japan, and even the Andaman Islands near India. They do not gather in huge groups like some other whales. Most videos show just one or a few animals moving slowly in long, relaxed circles as they feed. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.